Hello, everyone. My name is Ned Dennison. I'm the chairperson of the International Marathon Swimming Hall of Fame. We have one of our recent honorees with us, Gracie Vanderbilt. You can pronounce your last name because I butchered it, but say hello, Gracie
Hi, it's Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilt. Um, Grace, I'm going to read a tiny bit of your biography. Um, you set the overall speed crossing record for Catalina to the mainland in 2012, 7 hours, 27 minutes, and 25 seconds. You beat the swim times of 50 other honorees who completed this swim. You set the overall speed record for the 8 bridges, Cape May, and the female speed record for Memphremagog. All of those speed records still stand at the end of last year. And you also set the overall speed record in SCAR in 2013, which stood until 2023. Um, Grace, what you have an interesting pool career, and then you kind of made this transition to open water. When we were talking at the ceremony in Jersey, you were talking about some of the people and some of the events that had the greatest impact in that transition. So let's start with the people who you who you idolized, who mentored you, who inspired you.
Oh, geez. I feel like the list is so long, and yet there's so many like key moments. I remember when I was 13 and I was in the seventh grade and I was reading, whenever you're a kid, you have to read these essays in school. Well, randomly, the essay that I got pulled out to read was about Susie Maroney going from Cuba to Florida. And I'll never forget. It's like one of those moments you I can barely remember those years of my life, but I remember that essay and every word in it. And I remember reading about her in that cage and what she was going through with the jellyfish and being and I just remember thinking, geez, I want to do that. I think I can do that. And I was living in Texas at the time, in Southeast Texas, and that is not something you talk about in Southeast Texas because, I mean, first of all, you don't go swimming in the Gulf of Mexico or Gulf of America, whatever it is now. Um, you just, those are just not things that people aspire to or even talk about. It's so far out of the realm. You may as well be talking about, going to the moon. But that one essay and that article stuck with me all these years. And then when we got transferred out here to California, I um I got to see what that community actually existed, that those people that I thought could have been mythical actually do these things and actually exist, and there's a place that you can do it, and it's all here. So yeah, it started with that one little article at 13, keeping it nice and tight, and then showing up to the Cove one day and meeting Bob West, who's an absolute legend and the mentor and trainer of, I'm sure, many of the honorees in the International Marathon Swimming Hall of Fame. And he started me on my little path. They had a little swim group that would meet at the Cove in the mornings, and I would meet up with him and Steve Dockstetter and Janice Lamont, and I would swim circles around them. Now you got to understand they're in their like late 70s at this point. And the only seawater I had swum in was in the Gulf. So it's cloudy, murky, there are bull shark. There's so many things that want to eat you there. So I getting in the Pacific Ocean and it's clear and you can see the bottom and there's all these beautiful, I was terrified of all of it because I didn't know what of it was going to kill me or eat me or whatever. So I would just swim circles around this group of retirees while they would do their little like I don't know, their little swim loop. And then after a little while, Bob says, "You know what? I think you should do this race. It's called Tour of the Buoys. It's 5 miles. I think you should try it." I'm like, "Okay, you're the coach. I'll do it." So then I did Tour of the Buoys and loved it. Then about a week or two later after that, I'm on our typical 9 a.m. morning loops because they like swimming at a friendly hour. That's why you swim with retirees. They're not crack of the morning. So we're making our way out and we get to this buoy. We call it the A buoy or the quarter-mile buoy out at the cove. And we stop for a little chat and he pulls out a little flask and gives me a sip. It's a Bloody Mary because that's what you have when you're at the cove with Bob West. And he says, "So you can't swim with us anymore." I was like, "Wait, what?" He said, "Yeah, we love you, but you can't swim with us anymore. But I'm going to introduce you to Ann Cleveland, and she's going to take good care of you. I think you need to swim Catalina. I think you need to be a channel swimmer." And I at the time I was kind of feeling dejected. How did I just get rejected by a bunch of retirees? Like, but then at the same time, they're the amount of swim knowledge and experience that all the you sit and talk story and they're talking about swimming these channels in Canada and swimming in it made what I thought was like this weird little fantasy world real, and it started to become real for me. Then I met in Cleveland. She was training for a double Catalina, and she was just an absolute force of nature. Like no other way to describe this woman. She was just she was beyond all understanding and without measure just a champion. And she I started training with her and then um I went to go support her double and she didn't make it. She was in the water for a short amount of time and got pulled. But there was just this wealth of knowledge on the boat. I mean, there was the Udavans and Beth and Dave, and listening to the stories from them about these crazy swims that they've done off their boat. And then there was John York on the boat. And I mean, of all the people, John York is now, no, you should totally do this. And then even Anne gets out of the water after being pulled out of that swim and she goes, "You got to do this. You're going to do this." So I did it.
What other swims had a big influence on you or got you prepared? So you talked about this 5 mile race, but you've been all over the place. Are there events races that had an inflection point for you that pushed you on, gave you
I
confidence?
can I can say for sure Scar was a big one when Kent said, "Hey, listen, we're doing this swim. It's 40 miles and I'm inviting a group of friends to come out and give it a roll. What do you think?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I'll be your Huckleberry. Let's do it." And that was just epic. I know during that I realized that um I really liked stage swimming and I really liked racing. Like that, and I realized that that was something every sort of marathon swimmer has kind of the lane that they're good at. And I realized maybe my secret power is that I can recover quickly. So I really love that. And then Eight Bridges, that was that was actually I still have dreams about that swim and about jumping in that water and not seeing anything in the Hudson and meeting the great Rondi Davies, who to this day I feel like is the most impressive marathon swimmer maybe nobody knows at all. Like she is just an absolute she she's she's a queen among women. Like she
So
is just something.
so you were at SCAR. David Barrow was there. Did he talk to you at SCAR and get you into Eight Bridges? Did it work that way, or how did you end up in
He
Eight
just
Bridges?
said he just says, "So we have this swim and we've been trying to get people to finish it, but nobody ever finishes it." So that was literally the conversation was like, "We just need somebody who can finish it. I think you can finish it. I think this is good for you. I think you can do this." So, yeah. Then the next thing you know, I'm out in New York. I've never really been to New York in my life. I remember David picking me up in Newark and we're driving through Newark, New Jersey, and I felt like that book, City Mouse and Country Mouse. I'm looking it up at all the skyscrapers in Newark, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is insane." And then he was like, "We're in Newark. We're not even in New York." And it goes to show, you got this coon-ass girl going to the big city. It was shocking.
So one
And
of the
then,
things, so
huh?
before you leave that, I was at SCAR with you. Liz Fry was there. Sarah Thomas was there. SCAR was quite interesting in a lot of respects. I made sure I had dinner every night with a different group of people,
Hmm.
because they were these people I knew by email from all over the world, and it was really my way of connecting. Since then, Liz and I have done swims together. She's been out to Ireland numerous times to swim with me, and so SCAR was one of those events because you're kind of forced together for 4 days. You have to talk to people. You have to meet people. Sometimes events where you go swim and leave, you don't get any. You don't get the connections. But SCAR
Mm-mm.
is definitely a place for connections, for smiles, tears, agonies, joys, whatever they might be. You you've got them as SCAR.
Yeah. Yeah, Scar was definitely what I loved about it was that it's the same thing that I felt whenever I did Eight Bridges. It's that you're having joy together, you're suffering together, and those things are not common. Like it could take you a lifetime with a person outside of that situation to go through that roller coaster of stuff to bond with that person in a meaningful way. Where here we are in these 4 days and we're going through this together, all of a sudden you're going through something deep that you're creating this meaningful bond with all of these people that will last forever. So yeah, that it's super super special. And all of those people, like you said, I've maintained relationships with every single one of those people. And it's so special.
How did you end up at Memphis?
Uh Kind of the same way as I ended up in all of them. They were like, "Hey, uh have you ever been to Vermont?" I said, "No." Well, we got this you can swim between Vermont and Canada. I'm like, "Oh, well, that's cool." You know, I mean, I'm originally from Southeast Louisiana and it's Canada. I mean, it's crazy to even think about it. So I was like, "Oh, yeah, let's do it." And when we got up there, it was as fun and as quirky and as interesting as it can be with all the characters. It was Sarah and I mean, it was Ryan. It was an absolute, it was crazy. Then we had crazy winds and couldn't swim for 2 days, so everybody just had fun drinking in the swim house. Like, and then finally it happened and I'm on the swim and I didn't realize I took for granted that a lake would have such heavy silt. So I didn't like pack on all the grease and stuff. And I got about, I don't even know, it was not long into the swim. It was still dark. It was maybe like 5 or so miles into the swim. And I got frustrated and just took my suit off and chucked it in the boat. And I swam that entire swim in my birthday suit. So there's like no pictures of the swim because they were so angry at me because it kept trying to come the boat and then there would be a boob or something. It was really funny, but I was like, I can't. Oh my gosh. And it was just brutal. And I mean, I'm not a lake swimmer, so how does a lake have current? And why is there crazy headwinds? And then there were it was such a it was hard. It was maybe one of the hardest swims I've done. But yeah, it was there's very little evidence of me and Memphis Magog because of that swim. And when I finished, we were in obviously we were in Canada and there you have to put your suit back on to get in the boat. And then I was like, why would I put it back on just to take it back off again? Are you kidding me? I've been swimming for 12 hours. If you haven't seen it by now, you obviously haven't been watching my swim. So it was just it was an absolute blast meeting Elaine and just each one of those swims, like you said, you go through this amazing, roller coaster of events together, and then those people just get bonded into your greater family of relationships.
Have you started inspiring younger swimmers? Do you have a bunch of little ducklings that are starting to follow you around?
I mean, I don't know. I like to think so. I'm a swim coach here in San Diego. I coach for Rancho San Diego. Um, I've had numerous kids that obviously are interested and that I take out, and we've done several Catalina relays with them. I take a lot of them out for ocean swims. Anytime any one of them wants to do an ocean swim, I feel like I'm the neighborhood person to call, and then everybody. So, yeah, maybe I hope they are. I wouldn't be able to say, but I do know that I stay pretty busy with those little ducklings for sure.
So I'm going to make a mark in my diary for 5 years from now. And I expect you to tell me that one of your proteges has done something amazing in the open water.
Well, a lot of them have, like, but they've kind of gone a different route. Most of them have gone um 5K and 10K route, like doing the traditional swimming path, which I didn't have access to whenever I was a kid. Like that was, in hindsight, had I had access to that, maybe I would have gotten into that a lot sooner, but we just didn't where I lived and it just wasn't a thing. But here, these kids have access to that. So, um, most of them have gone that route. A lot of them see Catalina and the big channel swims is this big thing that they hope to do one day. But they're enjoying the benefits of how the sport has changed and being able to enjoy it in a bite-sized piece at an affordable price for their age. Channel swims are not cheap.
So maybe you'll have
And
a top 10 U.S. national 5K or 10K swimmer soon.
I think so. I've had several zone swimmers that were that way and areas. So yeah, maybe. I hope so.
Okay. Well, Grace, I want to thank you for your time. You have been interesting as usual. And I will indeed call you in 5 years and find out whether you've got some swimmers that have actually been crushing it in the open water. For anybody who's watching one of these videos for the first time, we have a library about 150 videos. And the second you'll have a subscription screen that'll come on. Feel free to click on that. And Grace, we'll hopefully see you soon and swim behind you again one of these days.
Sounds good. Look forward to it.
Take care.